Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us for Hopskip Drive's Transportation Trailblazers video series. My name is Toby McGraw, and I lead the sales and revenue team here at Hopskip Drive. I'll be facilitating today's conversation titled Transportation Trailblazers, Advanced Safety Technology, Telematics, and Insurance Innovations. Let's start by having our guests introduce themselves. Nicole, would you mind going first?
Sure. Thanks, Toby. My name is Nicole Sivieri, and I am a casualty advisor on the shared economy and mobility team at Marsh. I've been working with the Hopskip Drive team for about 3 years now, and it's been a very exciting 3 years. In my role as a casualty advisor, I build and manage insurance programs for clients in emerging industries. So that includes rideshare, micromobility like bikes and scooters, asset share, and autonomous vehicles. And before joining Marsh, I was an underwriter at AIG, where I also worked in casualty lines of business as well.
Thanks for introducing yourself, Nicole. Let's get it over to Paul at Fairmatic. Paul, if you want to tell us a little bit about yourself and your background.
Sure. Thanks, Toby. Thanks for having me. Yeah, my name is Paul Klein. I'm the head of sales and marketing for Fairmatic. We've been working with Hopskip Drive for a few years now, providing their insurance coverage. What Fairmatic does is we offer a telematics-based insurance technology, which I'm really excited to talk about. Previously, I've spent about 12 years working for emerging technology companies in the tech startup space.
That's fantastic. And, I personally spent about a decade selling commercial vehicle telematics products. And one of the things that we had talked about with our commercial fleet partners for a long time was, what if we could get to a world where we just started billing insurance by the mile based upon safe driving behaviors? And what are those types of information that we could service up to drivers and fleet managers to actually manage that? And so one of the interesting things about my transition coming to Hopskip Drive over 3 years ago was really the excitement and the way that the company uses technology. So I can't wait to hear about that a bit more. So just kind of backing up and going to go over to Nicole to start. Just curious about, overall experience in marketplace and transportation economy. It's like, what makes you different?
Sure. So Marsh is a global leader in insurance and risk management services on every industry. And then through our subject matter experts and global footprint, we've been really able to develop the expertise needed for emerging technologies like rideshare. We have deep experience in both transportation and platform companies, and we're at the forefront of risk and insurance for rideshare and vacation rental, which were both introduced almost a decade ago now. In the early days, regulation was still being formed, and today we now have a well-established regulatory framework for many industries, including rideshare. So what we found at Marsh is that enabling trust is really central to these companies, and insurance is part of that enablement. So it's not always find the lowest price, it's find the best coverage, and that's where we excel.
That's fantastic. And Paul, I'll flip the same question over to you. When you think about Fairmatic's work within marketplace and transportation economies, I'm curious about what you guys have done at Fairmatic and what makes you a little bit different.
Yeah, sure. So I think one of the things that makes us really different is our DNA comes from mobile technology, which we use to gather data on telematics. Our mission is to save lives on our roads. And as you guys probably know, one of the biggest dangers on the road is the use of mobile devices. So being able to flip that script and using mobile devices as a method to make the road safer is really important to us. So essentially what we do is we allow fleet managers and drivers to be active participants in keeping roads safer by giving them the visibility to monitor and reduce risk factors while having a direct impact on their insurance rates on a per driver basis, which is a pretty new concept. So our whole goal is to provide an insurance product on actual exposure versus prospective exposure, like you see with most companies.
No, and I absolutely love that. And back in our telematics days, we used to say you can't manage what you can't measure, and that kind of really rolls into our next topic here. And starting with Nicole and at Marsh, I'd love to learn a little bit more about your specific experience working with Hopskip Drive so far, and what are some of the results that you've seen?
Sure. So our approach with Hop Skip Drive was to build an insurance program that reflected an understanding by insurers of the services Hop Skip Drive offers and the loss control measures that you guys have in place. Again, you can use the data from the telematics, but it's also about the controls like background checks that Hop Skip Drive utilizes to keep everyone safe during transit. So the program is based on the Transportation Network Company regulations, but it goes far beyond that. The insurance policies support and complement the broader risk management goals of Hop Skip Drive. So in terms of the workflow, most renewals for insurance are on an annual cycle. Marsh and Hop Skip Drive work very differently, where it's constant communication. So we stay up to date with all their business on a weekly, biweekly, monthly basis as needed. So we can constantly see how the business is evolving and what the insurance needs are.
That's fantastic. And from the Fairmatics side, I'm curious, Paul, for some of the data that your team has been able to take a look at as it relates to Hop Skip Drive's network of care drivers.
Sure. So, well, as you guys know, data is very much in the DNA of all insurance products, right? So what we're doing is we've noticed a trend where fleets are adopting more and more technologies like telematics, dash cams, and other services for coaching and loss control. And obviously, insurance is a product that is required for any business to operate. Basically, what we're doing is we're marrying the two concepts together by providing insurance based on actual real-time driving behavior, whether it's acceleration, speeding, phone usage, all these data points that are good indicators for safe or unsafe driving behavior, so that we can move the risk in the right direction. And the best part of it is obviously the transparent part. So we believe in allowing fleet managers and their drivers to get the coaching and loss control tools offered by our telematics solutions, so that they and other drivers are safe on the roads. So it's really a win-win on all accounts.
Thanks, Paul, for that overview. I'm curious, when you think about some of the specific metrics or statistics that you might have seen across the care drivers, across our network of care drivers, what are some of the real world metrics and statistics we've seen from the adoption of telematic technology?
Sure. So, I mean, first off, Hop Skip Drive has really been a dream partnership for us. Obviously, we want to make the road safer for everyone, and especially students and kids. Now, what we've seen from Hop Skip Drive is consistent, safe driving patterns since inception, but we've really been able to improve from them. So it's been reflected by a significant reduction in negative KPIs and large reduction in cost per mile across the board. Some of the key measurements that we've noticed is device usage is down by just about an eighth of the national average, speeding 15% lower, less than half of the hard braking we see across other fleets, 50% less overall frequencies and occurrences, which is obviously massive compared to other Fairmatic customers. And obviously the rates correlate with that. So again, not only are we making the road safer, but it's an economic incentive as well for Hop Skip Drive.
Yeah, and this is the thing that I think is just incredibly important for our partners to truly understand is it's one thing to equip telematics data or telematics solutions on your fleet. It's another thing to really manage it and make sure that you're encouraging and safe driving behavior. And for us, we really put our money where our mouth is in a program where we are essentially paying by the mile for our insurance coverage. It really behooves us to ensure that we're providing resources to our drivers, to our network of drivers, that they understand when they are engaging in unsafe behavior, and they can find ways to improve that. One of the things I'm most proud of is as it relates to device usage. So when you just look at national averages, at any given moment, there's about 600,000 people driving down the road in the US that are texting and driving on major US freeways. And so not only are you putting yourself in danger in that type of situation, but you're endangering those around you. So with our network of care drivers, we often think about the passenger, this unaccompanied minor, we think about the care driver, but it's really the rest of the driving community that are out there on these roads that, as Hop Skip Drive is making or doing everything we can to ensure that the experience is as safe as possible for our ride and for our partners, we're also making it safe for the broader driving community, which are the rest of our friends and families that are out there on the streets on a day-to-day basis. So I appreciate the thoughts on the telematics side. I'm going to go back to Nicole at Marsh, and I'd love to have just a little bit more information on how Hop Skip Drive's coverage actually works.
Sure. So the auto policy with ZenDrive is the core of Hop Skip Drive's insurance program, and it's based on those TNC regulations. So those are the 3 periods. So when you look at a standard auto policy, you'll see full 24-hour coverage and a limit. In transportation network company world, it's broken into 3 periods. So period 1 is when the driver is driving around but looking for a ride. Hop Skip Drive actually does not have any of this exposure because all of their rides are pre-scheduled. This is also another safety benefit of using the Hop Skip Drive service because those rides are pre-scheduled. And then period 2 is when the care driver is on the way to pick up the passenger from the school. So that's the period 2 exposure. And then period 3 is when the passenger is actually in the car and they are headed to their destination. So the goal was to build insurance to fit how the business works, right? Which does correlate with those 3 periods. And then that's how the limits and structure of the policy works. The goal was to build insurance to fit how the business operates, and the Transportation Network Company periods 1 through 3 framework was adopted by most states in 2017. So the policy is also structured to respond as primary coverage. So this allows for more streamlined and efficient claims handling. Some transportation companies rely on the primary coverage of the independent contractors or personal lines insurance, which could add a lot of uncertainty, which Hop Skip Drive avoids through this model.
Yeah, that's great. And I think in particular, primary coverage is something that comes up as a question quite frequently from our partners and clients, just around in the event of an incident. And we try to do everything we can upfront to avoid that. But in the event that the accident happens, whose insurance is going to cover that. I was kind of curious about the structure of the wrongful acts policy and what that means as it relates to Marsh's coverage with Hop Skip Drive.
Sure. So another differentiator, I'm never going to say that word again. The wrongful acts policy ensures risks against assault, battery, and sexual abuse. And the policy specifically names the care drivers as insureds and has dedicated limits of insurance available. This policy was really put into place to give an extra level of comfort to the many school districts and public entities that Hop Skip Drive partners with.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So, what we've certainly noticed as we have done more and more contracting directly with school districts and county agencies is that risk managers who are looking out for the best interest of their communities often have some misconceptions or misunderstandings about the model and how it relates to how Hop Skip Drive's insurance might compare to legacy models. So Nicole, going back to you, I'm super curious from Marsh's perspective, what are some of these common misconceptions or misunderstandings that risk managers might have?
Sure. The biggest misconception is really that TNCs are underregulated compared to that of other transportation companies like busing or trucking. Transportation is one of the most highly regulated industries in the United States, and that should give consumers a level of comfort.
That's great. Thanks, Nicole. And Paul, from your perspective, are there specific misconceptions that you see from the Telematics side?
So I would say less about misconception, more ask from risk managers and customers is that they're looking for transparency in pricing and how we're measuring the risk, which is obviously one of our biggest strengths. Is through telematics, we're able to actually provide real-time reporting down to the route and driver detail, which helps us to justify the coaching or adjustments in premiums.
That's great. So in closing, huge thank you to both you, Nicole, and to Paul for joining Hop Skip Drive's Transportation Trailblazers video series. We touched on a lot of topics from, the importance of safety on the road, changes and innovations in the insurance industry, all the way to telematics and how you measure, use, and improve behaviors as it relates to driver behavior, safe driving behavior on the road. I hope that everyone enjoyed the video and found some value in a few key takeaways. from our time with Nicole and Paul. So I can't thank you both enough for joining us. We look forward to seeing you all on the next installment of Hop Skip Drive's Transportation Trailblazers video series. Thanks a lot. Bye.
Thanks, Toby.
Thanks, guys.